Okay, so as we develop this, like right now when we go out the gate here in a couple weeks, most of our dispatches are going to be very similar from EMS specialist, lieutenant, and EMS captain, right? There's not going to be a lot of difference there. Hopefully as we learn more, decide if there's any differences, that might change, but just so everybody's clear, dispatches are going to be pretty much the same, and expectations on calls are going to be pretty much the same. So this is kind of just so that we socialize it with you all, so that you can socialize it with the people you're running calls with, and so that you can think about this before. You know, when I first ran my first call by myself, and I'm like, okay, I got to grab my ALS bag, and then my oxygen, and then my monitor, and I'm like, my monitor's on the wrong shoulder, and now I'm like walking like this, right? Kind of think about what you think is most important and why, and kind of have a reason around it. Okay, so first, cardiac arrest. You arrive on a cardiac arrest. If you're arriving after the other units, right, you're going to have to walk in and you're going to have to make a decision based on the scenario where you're going to best fit in, right? And we're going to talk about integration into ongoing care later in the week. So we're not going to dive deep into that, but you're going to have to use your best judgment. Am I going to be doing skills? Am I going to have to talk to the family? Do I need to reorient patient care overall to get it back on track? Those are all things you're going to have to walk in, take a tactical pause, is that what we're calling it, and then make a decision, right? But now I want to talk about in the cardiac arrest in the fact that, okay, you're on the road, right? Or you're the only one in your station, everybody else is out running calls or on drills, and you get called for that cardiac arrest, and you're first on scene, right? So you've got your cards there which have your main first line EMS equipment, EMS bags, thinking about what you can carry as a single person and what's important for that patient, assuming they're in cardiac arrest. What things are you taking into the house first?
I don't have a Lucas card.
If you don't have a Lucas card, there might be a reason you don't have a Lucas card. So in your group, pick the top things, or at least put them in order. Put in order what you think you would take inside. We'll start there. Huh? You're first on scene. You are by yourself. This is an adult, adult cardiac arrest, sorry. Okay, I like it.
You're not going to be able to do this ultrasound, right? Yeah, so I think get out. Everybody grab.
Yeah, you can add that to your list of, you can bring that up,
We don't bring these in your dual hat. Get out, get in the back, get out.
Okay, so I like, there's way more discussion today than there was yesterday, so I like it. Okay, so we'll start with the Chiefs over here. Sure. Since you got the most bugles. Okay. Yeah, radio and flashlight. And command board. It's a two-story, single-family dwelling. No.
So kind of what we talked about, obviously I didn't even know what a specialist bag was, so I'm here still learning. But, if we got a lot of units, the engine and the ambulance or medic units probably a minute to 2 minutes behind us. Mm-hmm. So real life, not in promotional la-la land. We definitely need the Zoll monitor so we can start doing some CPR, potentially some defibrillation.
Yep.
And then we got to thinking, if we have two shoulders and if the O2 bag is next to the Zoll monitor,
it is.
Maybe bring that
or will be
for an airway adjunct or something like that, but nothing else.
Okay, so I'm speed bagging. I got my Zoll monitor. I got my oxygen. I'm balanced. I'm built for speed. Go inside. What do we all think about that?
Yeah. Because you're not going to be able to do an IV. So why bring it?
Okay, I could buy that. Anybody else concur or have anything slightly different? What do you guys think up here?
I mean, I can do high quality CPR and deliver timely defibrillation, which is what's going to actually make a real difference.
Good, right? So the question we want to ask ourselves on these calls, right, if you're when first one on scene is, what is it that is going to make a meaningful difference to this patient's outcome, right? And like Mike said, okay, we know the things that contribute to good outcomes on patients are high quality CPR. I got that with me. My hands, hopefully gloved. I finally have something to do with my hands, CPR, right? And then if I need to defibrillate, if they're in a shockable rhythm, I have my Zoll, right? So those two things, I agree, are in my top two things that are at least coming with me in the house, right? Because those are the things that I can do effectively by myself, right? Anything else that I could or think about bringing in first? You say ALS bag?
I got a bag.
Yeah?
You can with your Narcan.
Okay. But I mean, if it got tell me about Narcan. What if?
What else might
Oxygen.
you do?
Yeah.
And then you're the first 5 minutes.
If you're Narcan, you're going to that.
What's expected?
This is the backup Narcan, right? Bag.
Yeah. So Mike said, like, okay, what if he is an opioid overdose? I get there and I'm like, well, he's got a strong pulse. This guy's just not breathing. I got my oxygen bag right here, baby, all day. Somebody else brings my Narcan later, right? Hannah, what'd you have?
Well, I was going to say that we don't often do it, but we can use a bystander. So to count with, like, maybe ALS, and like, if I've got a cooperative bystander, they do CPR, like coach them on CPR while I'm doing passive oxygenation with a pneumatic breather on there. So I don't have to worry about bagging now, and then I can potentially look at drugs at the same time, depending on the time frame. I mean, thinking Snowmageddon, right?
Yeah.
If we've got the smallest vehicle and that's to get through.
So the next question is, right, how long is by myself, right, is the question, right? If I'm 90% of the time, right, they're a couple minutes behind me. And I can look at my CAD and I can go, okay, I'm leaving station 5. It says I'm getting engine 37 and medic 11, right? I'm like, okay, engine 37 is going to be pretty far behind me. If it's like a situation like that, the second alarm fire just went out and it's like, you're getting medic 207 and engine, 205. You can kind of make those decisions. That's when you might go the Billy route and go, okay, now I might put my ALS bag on and then take my oxygen and my monitor as well, right? Because I have a little bit more of a reflex time. But the question is, at what point am I wasting so much time that I am no longer fulfilling my role to get early CPR and early defibrillation accomplished?
Yeah, it's all trade-offs.
Yeah. So it's all like I said, it's not a black and white, right? It's just things you got to think about. Usually, I know what I do and I don't know exactly how the explorers are going to be laid out, right? But on EMS 4, I get out, go to my passenger side, right? I open my cab, I take my oxygen and my Zoll out, I get my ALS bag, throw that on, and I walk in the house with those 3 things, right? That's usually the way I play it. But that doesn't mean that's exactly how it has to be done.
The real question is, though, when you get there, it's an obvious DOA. Do you just tell the medic to continue at their discretion, or?
Usually, I would say, and this comes to making good, building trust, right? Like, real question, right? If I'm the first on, even if I'm pretty early into the call, right? If I get there.
First on scene, the patient was deceased.
Yeah.
And I was grateful because even the supervisor was like, hey, you can put everybody in service.
Yep.
Yes, I didn't think of that.
And there's plenty of times that I've done that, right? Oh, they're DOA, right? I've confirmed, got the 4 leads on, DOA. Yeah, everybody can go. If, again, scene being what it is, if I don't feel like if it feels like a weird situation where I don't want to be alone by myself, I'll usually let whatever the closest unit is come in just so I'm not by myself, but otherwise, yeah. And then I'll do the report. It's like, that's one of the, big things talking about building trust is doing those reports like that, doing the DOA report, doing the refusal. That just is another, I don't want to call it tedious because it's part of our job, but those things that add up to the things you're already doing the day. If I can take that off your shoulders, that's an easy lift for me. Yeah.
100% applaud that entirely. Just want to put it on your radar. Be aware of what's going on with some of our law enforcement partners from a staffing perspective. It was very uncomfortable for me to sit on scene with a family and their deceased father for the better part of an hour waiting for the police to get there, because we're having them continue for the investigation side of this. There's not an active threat, so it's becoming low priority on their list. It's a little different when you've got a crew of 4, you're like, okay, it's weird when you are the only person in the uniform in this family's. I actually said to him at one point, like, hey guys, I'm going to be just outside if you need me. Please let me know.
Yes.
Out on the front porch, because just be aware and be prepared for the weirdness that comes with not having a friend.
Yeah, it's weird. It has happened to me also where I'm just like waiting for PD to come. I put everybody else in service. There's no threat, and I'm just sitting there, me and the dead body, just like hanging out, waiting for the police, and that's the way it is sometimes. Okay, so good. So that's kind of how we want to think about things. Okay, so now let's move on to our next thing. A specialist bag, ventilator, medication pump, ultrasound, Kelly thoracostomy kit, IV nitro, ANSEF, RSI medication. Anything that's not regular ALS stuff, basically. Yep. Okay, so shooting, stabbings, assault with a weapon. Okay, so first off, who is getting dispatched on these events? Like, what cadre am I getting? What's the CAD populating?
Still AFR.
Pretty much. AFR, medic,
Battalion chief,
safety
officer.
EMS safety officer, I believe that, yeah. Yep, okay, so the big difference here, right, is now we're getting a battalion chief, right? So that means at this point, we've got somebody who is coming, is gonna wanna know a situation report, gonna wanna know if they need to establish command, if there's multiple patients, things like that, right? So again, this is our delineation here about, okay, am I direct patient care for a single person who needs critical interventions, or do I have multiple patients that I need to coordinate more resources, moving multiple patients to a treatment area, things like that, right? So those are the first things you're gonna have to think about. So second part, let's assume this is you get called for a single person, assumed to be self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. You're going in with the first in AFR to do a recon, right? What things do you want to come in the door with you? And the answers for this one might not be on your cards, because I only had so many cards to use.
Rapid trauma kit.
RTK, I like that. So I hear Zoll.
AFR carried.
Their muscles, I don't know. Whoever's bringing it, you know what I mean? What do you want by this patient? And the example I used yesterday was, I'm coming to the call and the police say the scene is cold while I'm on my way there, right? So they're starting to move and I'm just rolling into the scene, so I'm there like 30 seconds before them, right? So they see me walking in the door, so I'm not by myself, but I was there first, right? So use that as your marker. It seems unrealistic, but it's happened to me multiple times, right? So what are you bringing in with you? I hear RTK, I hear Zoll. Do I have any different thoughts?
Specialist bag?
I hear specialist bag. Pit kit, well, always BSI. I always have my BSI. I have my BSI on right now because I said it. Okay, I hear oxygen bag and RTK, right? Okay, so let's think about what's our treatment goals for somebody suffering from major trauma. Yeah, XCAB, XCABC, so control bleeding, fix immediate life threats. So what are immediate life threats?
Bleeding, airway
exsanguination, lots of bleeding. Airway obstruction. Tension pneumo, flailed chest, not a respiratory arrest, right? Okay, so what bags do I need to fix those things? Let's say it's a tension pneumo. What do I got? What do I need? RTK. I got chest darts, right?
Or you could just take your ALS bag and your two bag, which has all the exact same stuff in just different places.
Yeah, okay, so okay, it's a question of what, I think both of those answers could be correct. It's literally just about what's fastest probably. So I don't think either of those is incorrect, right? I know I probably want something with needle chest decompression, occlusive dressing, airway adjuncts, BVM, right? So oxygen bag, I like that, because if they're apneic, I can fix that. And then all the other life threats, tourniquets, chest seals, darts, either in my ALS bag or my RTK. Zoll, do we generally take, are we getting a set of vitals? No.
Interesting, Brian. What was because initially I was like, oh, well, I don't think I'm going to need that, but I can see a lane where you can build the justification entirely that I didn't think of when we talked about it yesterday. Brian, what made you want to bring?
Well, I guess when you said it looks like an obvious, self-inflicted gunshot wound, I'm thinking is it a DOA or is it going to be a like near-term arrest?
Yeah,
and we're working an arrest.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I just had that epiphany today. It was like yesterday I didn't think of that. If they have no signs of life and signs of non-recent death, then that may apply.
Yeah, and that's, if you've got a lot of hands, I could definitely, if you got a lot of hands, right, or more than one set of hands. I'm trying to think of how many hands each person has.
Emergency, I imagine that's less urgent because that's going to be reversible by definition.
Yeah.
So maybe I got time to.
I would say like it wouldn't be like on the top of my list, but it might be not far down my list, right? If I only had a couple hands and it's just me, I'm probably grabbing. Well, in my rig, probably not the RTK because it's like stuffed way back. So probably ALS bag and oxygen. If your RTK is easy to get, maybe RTK and oxygen, right? Because I can do most of those things. I think about like if we're not working this, right? I get there, I do my assessment. I'm like, okay, everybody slow down.
It also depends on
yeah.
What building are you going to?
If I'm going,
if we're going 30 floors up at Skyline, we're bringing everything.
Yes, and you're right. That's a really good point, right? It's all context dependent, right? If it's on the 24th floor of does Skyline have 24 floors? 26 floors of Skyline, right? Right? That's a completely different context, and you're right. Now I'm probably doing the load up and bringing more stuff, right? Or if it's a garden apartment with a huge green, like what's the word I'm looking for? Courtyard, right? Where I'm walking a long distance from my rig, right? You're right, these are all different contexts and like your decision making might change there. But that's why we're having that conversation now. So you're thinking about that, oh, this is not my number one game plan because that courtyard is freaking massive and I gotta go all the way to that garden apartment in the back corner, right? So now.
Whatever decision you made, you know what the vulnerability is.
Yeah.
So that you're prepared to identify if that's what.
Exactly.
But also, when you're having your conversations with the crews, try not to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to make up what you didn't, like, always, like, let your engine or AFR know. Always bring in your ALS and your Zoll or whatever you think you're going to need. Don't assume I brought anything in.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that a little more at this, right? If you were only able to bring certain things because of being a sole provider, letting the crews that are coming in know, like, hey, engine 423, bring your Zoll or bring your ALS bag and suction, right? So they know I just wasn't logistically able to get those things, but these are the next things I need you to bring in.
Transporting AFR, I know people too, so you can make a strategy of always bringing everything.
Yeah.
If you've got 4 people.
Yeah.
I think one of the places we got to a little bit yesterday was rather than try to piece together the different pieces, that the AFR should assume you have nothing at all times and then be pleasantly surprised if you have 2 monitors.
Yeah.
Because that way there will always be something missing unless you plan to bring all your stuff.
And that's what socialization with your crews, as you get to know the crews that you work with normally, right? Like, hey, I might have brought, if I get there first, I'm going to try to bring what I can. Just assume I brought nothing. If we have too much stuff, we'll make it work, right? We'll move some stuff out of the way. Yes, and that was a point yesterday. It's like, okay, as we bring more stuff in, maybe before we transport, hey, could you like point at somebody directly, hey, captain whatever, hey, LT, hey, firefighter whatever, can you go back in, do a quick round, make sure that we have all of our stuff with us, okay?
Didn't somebody yesterday call it the primary search for our stuff?
Yes, yeah, the primary search for EMS stuff, make sure it all comes out.
People with young kids know what it's like. Go on vacation, make a rest stop.
Yes.
Yeah, we've all seen Home Alone, right?
So Captain Warner brought up a good point, especially as you might be transporting with the crew, right? Whether you're upgrading a BLS unit or it's a critical patient you're riding in, right? Having accountability for like what you brought, right? Hey, could you make sure that, okay, I know I got my specialist bag. Hey, could you make sure that my ALS bag either is in this unit with me or back on my buggy, right? And all the stuff that goes with it, because it's a real bad feeling when you're like, I think they probably grabbed my ALS bag. I'm pretty sure they did. And then like you go to your buggy and thankfully it's never happened to me, but you open and you're like, oh, good, it is there. I was worried, right? But yeah, making sure that stuff comes with you. One thing, again, communicating what needs to happen, right? So what's our goal? We already talked about treating life threats. After we've treated life threats, let's say this person is viable and we're moving, and we're going to transport. What's our main goal after treating life threats? Removal, right? So communicating to your crews, hey, somebody get a Reeves, right? Because I know I ran one last week where we came in. I thought this guy it was a guy, self-inflicted gunshot to the head, I assume, right? That's what it said. I thought I was going to get in there and be like, this guy's, gone. Get there, guy's breathing, right? Has a strong pulse. So I'm like, oh, now I'm changing. Now I'm like, oh, okay, bagging, controlling bleeding. And I asked the tower crew to get a Reeves, right? And then everybody would like come in the door and like look, and I'd be like, do you have a Reeves? And they'd be like, no. And then they would walk away, and then somebody else would walk in the door. I'd be like, do you have a Reeves? And I felt like we were there forever. And we really weren't there forever. We were only on scene for 7 minutes, but in my head I was like, this is taking a really long time. So just making sure we're communicating. And I talked to the crew after. I was like, hey, next time we run this, just assign somebody always to bring a Reeves. If we get up there and we don't need it, that's fine, right? Those are the kind of conversations to have. It's the same thing, yeah. Yep. Instead, commands call, hey, Tower 36, see the attic out of the front door? Tower 36, anybody? Yeah.
I'll throw out there too, a radio on the right channel.
Radio.
Star 43 Lima zone. Star 43 zone still is in some of the radios.
Yeah.
Pick the wrong one, then you are not talking to anybody.
And what is challenging now is I used to just be able to go channel 43 Lima and change to 43 Lima. Now what I got to do is I got to like take it out, my holster, hit the Vicky button. I call her Alexa for Motorola or Siri for Motorola, whatever her name is, right? And I have to use either the Vicky button on the radio or I have to go through the whole list of channels, right? So that's another logistical challenge now that we've had different RSM mics. Yeah, so that's a really good thing to remember.
Do it before you get blood.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, do it before you get blood on your hands. What channel am I? It slipped out of my hands. Okay, so accident traps, accident medic required. Okay, so first off, let's talk about accident medic required. What type of incidents fall into our accident medic required dispatch? Pedestrian strucks. Motorcyclist down. What's that? And then anything else that the dispatcher reads on the CAD notes and is like, that sounds like they could use a medic. Literally all those things, right? So that means that there's a whole bunch of things that go into this that you're going to have to determine, I'm going to this is a pedestrian struck, right? Because we don't break those down into specifics, and that all has to do with call processing time. I'm not going to go into whether I agree or disagree. That's just the way it is, right? Those are the kind of calls that we're not going to be automatically dispatched on, right? So that's where you're going to have to kind of be aware of what's going on in your area. Accident medic required. Is it, I pull it up, Toyota Prius ran into a guardrail. Probably not anything versus pedestrian hitting a crosswalk, unresponsive. Same dispatch, but you're going to have to look at the CAD notes and kind of determine what it is and make a decision of whether you're going to add to that call or not. Okay, so again, this is another one where it's kind of determined, I get on scene, is this a multi-patient incident that I'm going to be expected to help triage, determine what type of units, how many units we need, Or is this a 1 or 2 patient incident where I'm going to be more involved in taking care of a critically ill patient? All depends on the situation.
So yeah, if you're by yourself arriving on an accident, put your traffic vest on, get your radio, and you're doing recon. You don't need any of your equipment.
I agree with that, yep. And on any sort of major highway, either limited access or high speed, please, as a sole unit, be freaking careful, right? Be on high alert for cars that aren't slowing down, not moving over. That's one of those when we talked about that, tactical pause is in my head now. That word is in my head, that phrase, right? If I know that the engine or the rescue is like 15, 30 seconds behind me, right? I might pause that 30 seconds to let them pull up behind me before I get out. Because is a Ford Explorer gonna do much to slow down a car that comes at you at 70 miles an hour? It's not gonna do anything, right?
On that, have you all talked, it's kind of discretion, I know, supervisors, but in general, because you're running the Explorer for the chase cars, is it better to pull past? Is that gonna be the recommendation, operational, as opposed to?
Depends on how far away in my head, it depends on how far away the next unit is, right? So I think still per the highway manual, if you are the first unit on scene and there's not another unit that's gonna be there, you're still technically supposed to block no matter what type of vehicle you are. Now, if the engine is right behind me and they're gonna block, right, obviously usually what I do is I pull past on any other motor vehicle accident if I've got a piece of heavy apparatus with me. Is that how you usually operate?
I'll be honest, it depends on where it is and the speed and the time of day and all that. I mean, we're at a 10,000 pound pickup truck versus a 4,000 pound Explorer. And while it doesn't provide a ton of blocking, it provides the 350s give you some. So I think that may need to be maybe is an operational discussion as to whether you want to ever block with an Explorer, or whether it needs to be on the other side of the accident. I wouldn't trust it to block if I were running the highway.
Yeah, I think it's more, sorry, go ahead, Chief.
I disagree with that only because I'm thinking of these Virginia State Police vehicles that get rear-ended, and a lot of them there's dash cam video, and it shows the vehicle with the wheels pointed away will often deflect the vehicle and maybe protect you. So yeah, I'd rather have a big engine company blocking, but I think your vehicle may do something.
It's also the warning aspect, the fact that if you're pulled past, if you're the first thing there, you pull past where the work zone will be, they won't see your vehicle until they're past where you're working at.
Yeah.
I agree, there's not a great right answer, but
it's dangerous, yeah. I think this is the most dangerous thing we do, is limited access highways, high-speed roadways, right?
our system, it is 100% the most dangerous place we operate.
But like Chief said, right, at least if you're working on assessing or talking to that patient that's in that car or those cars, right, at least it's something to deflect some of that energy away from that car and you that's on the roadway. And that's a good point, is like thinking about how you point your wheels, right? Another thing we all learn in EVOC, right? Or I think we do, right? Think about that. Okay, turn my wheels away from the scene so that if I do get rear-ended, hopefully some of that energy, right, goes in a different direction than me and the car that I'm working on. But optimum, yeah, I don't want to be the one blocking ever, is the optimum answer, right? So let's talk about this in terms of, let's say this is a single patient, heavy entrapment, rescue companies there, you're working. What do you see, what do you think your role is as a EMS specialist, EMS supervisor in that situation? One patient.
So if we're able to get access to do some treatment and assessment, like we bring blood, they may well need.
Okay, access and treatment. Okay. One thing that I think that I've noticed that I'm trying to for us to do better is oftentimes you have somebody with heavy entrapment. Our rescue companies are on scene. They're doing a very competent job of working out how to extricate this patient. And what do you see everybody else doing, including people who are on the medic unit or the transport unit? Yeah, they're by the stretcher. They got their stuff there, and they're just like, yeah, he looks pretty pinned in there, huh, guys? Yep, it's gonna be a good job. Yep.
So When we make it better, it should look better.
Yeah. So what could be getting done as they're extricating that? What's the reason we're extricating this patient?
Provide care.
To provide care, because they're viable, right? Because we want to get them out and we want to get them to definitive care and provide any treatment that will make that better in the short term that we're with them, right? So do I need to wait for them to be extricated from the car in order for patient care to begin?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Depending on how quick it is, probably not, right? Especially if that patient's critically ill, right? And the only way I'm going to know if that patient's critically ill is I got to do what? I got to assess them. I got to talk to them. I got to figure out what's going on, right? So one thing that I see my job as is directing care, getting somebody in there, assessing the patient. What do they need? Do they need airway management? Do they need oxygen? Do they need blood or fluids? So that we can stabilize them while they're extricating the patient. We got to get away from just standing there staring at the rescue crew, just extricating our patient, because that's not doing them any good. Yeah.
To your point, for some of these things, it may require you to get directly with the rescue officer and or the medic and asking for the 60-second pause to put the blood pressure cuff on, the pulse ox on, and the capnography, because all of those things you can put in place, allow everyone to still have their internal monitor towards you so that you can trend to what the patient's doing, because at that point, you may have to intervene for the 5-10 minutes, whatever.
Yeah, I think that's a good point that Captain Water just brought up, right? So you're, as EMS officers, right, you're going to need to coordinate with probably that rescue officer, because they're probably going to be coordinating extrication about, okay, what is this patient, what are the patient needs, and is there anything we need to pause, modify for what's best for the patient, right? So, hey, I gotta get this patient on oxygen. We're trying to roll the dash or do whatever. Yeah, cool. Let's pause 1 second so I can get somebody in the car, get oxygen on them, get a pulse ox on them, and then after we get that, we'll work on getting this extrication moving again, right? And having that conversation. I think that's one of our core jobs is as officers. Hopefully we can have that more peer-to-peer conversation, being like, yeah, we're on the same team. We're trying to accomplish the exact same task here. Let's just get this done, and then I'll help you figure out a plan to get this patient out, right?
I mean, a little bit, because I think it's dependent on the incident, I hate to say that, but the majority of them, they've got most of the rescue, the traps were running. You have somebody from the rescue or the engine's already in holding C-spine, and you can get there and they go, they're pinned, they're not trapped, they're just stuck. We're gonna pop the door, we're gonna roll the dash, we're gonna cut the roof because they're on the side or whatever else. Is a completely different scenario than they are critically injured within the car.
Mm-hmm.
And I would make the argument that unless you show up without an ambulance or without a medic unit, we should be coordinating, not directly intervening unless we have to. If you show up and you're the ALS provider with an ambulance, then you're getting your hands dirty. But otherwise, a whole lot of what you'll end up doing if you have a medic unit there is the medic unit should be the one talking and figuring out what care needs to be done. And we're coordinating, going, okay, there's 3 people in this car, 2 of them got out, walked out, the other one's here. Are they going to the hospital? Yes. Are they injured? Yes. Okay. We're going to take them to Fairfax. Let's make sure this one goes to Fairfax. Or the coordination of all those different things on scene. And I think
It's an interesting point, because the application of oxygen can also be carried out by AT if there is a need.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I would say not. Again, we all work in different areas. On A shift with Rescue 14, with Rescue 26, they are usually as interested in being in the car, holding on to the patient as they are cutting the doors off. So I think it's a matter of, I would be worried we shouldn't be in the car unless we have to. And we will get chased out of the car unless it's a critical patient. And I think it's just kind of have to hit that point in the road.
The interventions that we're supposed to be bringing to the scene require us to be outside the vehicle setting stuff up.
Mm-hmm. That could be true.
Yeah, you're looking at the tasks that need to be performed, and then the resources one needs to perform that task. And that's just what I was thinking. This is like, this is the medical group. You can have a single patient and still have a medical group.
Yep.
You need someone in there with the oxygen. It doesn't have to be you, and it probably shouldn't be you.
Yep, because then you're focused on the one thing with the patient, right? Yeah, so again, it comes down to, again, the situation. And it, just like any of our other calls, it's about what's kind of going on at the time, right? I agree that a lot of times you'll have somebody in the car, right, holding C-spine, right? But then there might not be anything else going on, right? So it might be our role to be like, hey, I got the non-rebreather ready. Hey, can you throw this on him, right? Or have somebody else, can you prep the non-rebreather? Hey, throw that on him, right? Because we want to make sure that we're hitting our basics, right? A patient who either has a TBI or is hypoperfused, we know that incidence of hypoxia does what to their mortality? It doubles their mortality, right? So even though we might be in the car and now they're focused on, hey, sir, we're cutting you out, if we haven't addressed the hypoxia and the hypoperfusion, we are now not addressing the mortality issue. So it's more of us as like a scene manager of saying, is this patient getting the proper care they need right now, and how can I facilitate that through all those soft skills that we've been talking about? Hey, did you think about oxygen? Okay, we didn't. You still didn't get it. Hey, here's a non-rebreather. How about you throw that on them, right? Like in a less sarcastic way than I just said it right there. But that's kind of the point I'm making, if that makes sense.
I also kind of see this role as being like the patient care liaison to the rescue OIC.
Yeah, that's a good way.
So the person in the vehicle may be noticing something significant that needs to be addressed or changed about how we're approaching this. And if their point of contact is the rescue OIC that is 15 feet away, giving instructions to guys that are cutting, that message is going to get lost and potentially delayed. Whereas if that person in the vehicle is in direct contact with the specialist or the supervisor, and they're able to then go directly to the OIC and relay that information, the communication is going to be a lot more effective.
Yeah, because we're focused, as Doc said, like we're the medical group, they're the extrication group. They're focused on how am I getting this patient out of the car. We're focused on what's best for the patient, okay? We can communicate if something is not matching up. Hey, we need to take a pause. Hey, the way we're going about that is actually worse for the patient. Hey, this patient is actually crashing right now, so I know we want to make this pretty, but we got to get this patient out as fast as possible, even if it's kind of ugly, right? So you're communicating, and so that we make that happen. I think more of like overall patient management, and less standing back and waiting for things to get done, right? Be more interactive with how the process is going.
So, like, the way I generally try and break it down in my mind when I'm on these or any of these things is, am I transport OIC for this? If it's an ambulance and it's me, then it's my patient, my responsibility. If I'm gonna use 14. If medic 14 is there and Tori's standing there, he's transport OIC. I'm in the support role for him. So I'm doing the scene management and doing those things. But that's where you can very quickly, I think, experience. You can step on their toes and go, stick your head in the front of the car and come back. Hey, medic, you need to come do this. And it burns that bridge. So I think, again, what is your role on scene? Are you in charge of patient care, or are you supporting patient care?
Yep.
That's a good way of thinking about it. What role am I actually in?
All those, yeah, whether it's the alpha call, whether it's the cardiac arrest, whether it's this call, right? It's all about taking in what's getting done. Is it getting done properly? Is it, and how much do I need to intervene? Maybe I don't need to intervene at all. Maybe they're doing everything right, and I'm just there to say, hey, if you need anything, you let me know, right? Or, you know, the skills that I do bring to the table. Oh, this patient's hypoperfused. Hey, you're getting the IO. I'm going to set up the blood, right? How do you fit into the puzzle at that point in time?
If we could step back and slide too, John, just because we hit this yesterday about the whole ready to receive concept. Because the other part of kind of guiding from outside is, all right, is somebody providing patient care, but also is everything set up so the second we have access, we can swarm and we can accomplish our pit crew. Those are the places where is the heat up. Is the monitor plugged in? Are there electrode leads on? Is the pulse ox out? Is there a bag spike? Is there a large bore IV ready to go? all those pieces so that like the second that the patient is no longer entangled, we can do everything that we want to do if we got them flat out.
Sure your receiver's ready.
Yeah, if we get this patient, whatever the extrication is, whether they're in a car or they're in a hole, right, and it takes time, if we get them out and the back of the unit isn't warm and there isn't fluid spiked and there isn't TXA ready, right, and if there isn't blood ready, then we have missed the ball on our preparation for that patient, right? So use that time.
We're going to pre-hang a saline line, but we're not going to pre-hang blood.
Yeah, and probably, yeah.
But if you are parked 4 vehicles down the road,
have your blood with you.
Choose to go run get your blood case. It's too late.
That's a very good point. That's a great point. Yeah, at least have the whole blood kit with you so that if it is and when it is needed, it is in the right place at the right time. Because when it's, hey, we're ready to transport, that's not the time to go, hey, should we go get the blood? Yeah, that's a little too late.
And there's the over-under to those things. I mean, Fairchild and I had a shooting that was right on the border of whether we were going to give blood. So we hung the first liter of saline
in the Y spike, yeah.
So that it would, in the blood tubing, so that if we were going to pull the trigger, it would have taken no time to pull the trigger. The only thing you would have had to do was spike the back. So, you know, again, it depends. This is where great clinical judgment comes in. You know, you don't open the blood if the person's vital signs are totally normal, but if you're on the edge, you may want to start thinking about what are the things I can do to make my zipper time or my reflex time as low as possible. Yeah, that's exactly what we did. Primed it with blood tubing.
Are they going to have fluid warmers on the Explorer, on the chase car?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we have enough.
So that's okay, because that's a very easy thing too to throw in, even whether you're giving blood or not, even if you're giving fluid. That's a quick, easy. You can support the crews on scene, set it up for them, have it ready to go.
Yeah, and yeah, just I like that the first spike of saline goes through that Y, so that if you are using blood, right? Oh, now I just got to add part B. Yeah. Okay. Going through real quickly the Alpha, Bravos, Charlies, right? Again, you're going to kind of pick what you need based on the call, right? But just think about the logistics of going inside, right? So let's say that I'm going for a pediatric seizure, right? What are the things that I need to bring inside the house for that pediatric seizure?
Your iPad, your hand
Okay. I got my phone, yeah. My iPad stuck in my back, like the back of my shirt. Okay, what else? Chris is bringing the iPad.
Can't carry it.
Well, okay. Which one are you not bringing?
Okay, what are you not bringing? What can't you bring? Okay. Okay, so it is a challenge, right? So PEDS bag. What are our thoughts on the PEDS bag for a PEDS seizure you arrive first on scene?
Yes. I mean, you're not going to
probably do it without it.
Okay, so what's in the PEDS bag that I might need and how quickly would I need it? The PEDS BVM would be the thing that I'm like, that's the thing that I'm having some heartache with, right? But if I'm by myself, can I get away with, I got a pediatric oxygen in my O2 bag, can I throw that on them in the short term while I wait for my other resources, right? Like, I have heartache, but again, I only got 2 hands, right? And so think about the logistics of getting all those things out. So let me tell you how I get all my stuff out when I go to ALS call for like a PED seizure, right? Okay, so I get out of my car, I go to the other side, I get my Zol, I get my oxygen, I put those down, I open my other door, I take my key fob, open my safe, take my narcs out, get my ALS bag, slide that into my narcs, put my bag on, grab my stuff, right? Hey, that's what we got to do. That's the system we're in. But have that stuff pre-planned in your head so that you know exactly how to do it, right? So that you know what those steps are so that you can do it as efficiently as possible, right? Because it kind of sucks when you get there and you're like, wait a second, no, that's over there. I already closed this door. I got to open it again. Crap. Nothing's worse when you didn't double unlock the thing and now you're passing your doors locked, so now you got to run back to the other side and unlock the doors. Look like an idiot. They're like, hey, we're over here. You're like, yeah, I'm coming, I swear. I see ya, right? So it can be done. It's not going to be fast, but the more that you understand the steps to doing it, the more efficient it can be so that you can get in the fastest way possible.
You forgot to mention that some buggies you have to get unlocked
you do the runaround.
Yes, and that's what, yes, that's what I was saying, because then I get to the other side and I try to open the door and I realize it's locked, and then I have to go back around and I look like an idiot. Happens, it's happened to me more than one time. Well, the car's still running, so usually the key's still in the rig. Got to keep it cool when I get back in. I'm getting sweaty. I'm getting sweaty. Now you're carrying all these bags. You want to see me be sweaty? After I get in the house, I'm like, I'm here. What's going on today? Okay, so the other things is if you arrive on scene after, right, with crews, you arrive on, you either add or you get added to this because you're a second ALS provider. Let's say you get there, it's not a very serious call. They're handling this like the professionals they are. What are some things that you can do to build trust with your crews?
Work on the report.
Work on the report. Some people love getting the report started, right? They love getting the iPad out, they get the demographics in, and they go, hey, I've sent this to the cloud, to ambulance, whatever, to medic, whatever. I'm not very good at that. Some people are great at it. So I'm good at manual labor. Like that's the one thing my muscles are good for. So I usually default to that. Like, oh, I'll grab the bags. I'll take the stair chair. I'll help you move down the stairs. I'll help you move the stretcher. Like, there's not a one answer to it, but find some other way to be useful to your crews that shows good faith and grace. And I find that the Charlie call that is very BLS with an ambulance crew and an engine, and I'm just helping them move, it builds a lot of great relationships.
With the new, I haven't read all the CAD stuff yet. So if a Charlie is ambulance and you only, you might have to do I did my ALS.
Has to be on it.
Yeah, it's still AFR on every unit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, bad rumors.
And
Bad scoop.
Speak to this as well. He actually laid a ton of the framework for what changes were happening with the dispatch algorithm, but the only Alpha Bravo or Charlie EMS event that changed is the Alpha. And the big thing that changed with that is rather than previously where you would potentially get 2 transport units or 2 AFRs, or in some cases, essentially a still alarm was dispatched to your EMS incident because of proximity of the nearest ALS provider, proximity of ALS transport unit, multiple different factors. That's now been streamlined down to the EMS supervisor or EMS specialist is going to get dispatched if there isn't a medic unit available for an Alpha within 10 minutes.
Right. So in this case, you could get, let's say there's not a ALS unit or ALS transport unit within 10 minutes. You might get an AFR, EMS specialist, and an ambulance only on that call, right? And then if it's a true ALS call, you all would have to determine, okay, who is going to ride this call in ALS for this patient with this ambulance, right? There's multiple ways to do that. The AFR could go if they've got something to do. For really basic ALS calls, where you don't need multiple people in the back, it's like, hey, one of the people from the ambulance can drive my buggy to the hospital. I'll ride in the back here. When we get back, I'll finish the report, hand off. As soon as they clean up, right, they can go back in service while I finish the report, right? Not a big deal, but you are going to have to manage those dynamics on the scene about, oh, is the ALS provider and the AFR going? Am I going, right? Because there's no right answer. It's just going to have to depend on the time of day, what's going on. Do they have training? Do you have training? You're going to have to come to an agreement on that, right?
It was brought up yesterday also that whoever establishes the initial patient contact might be reasonable to continue it. So if we're showing up late, they already have an established relationship, then okay. You guys good with continuing this? Or if there's a specific skill set that we need to provide, then that clearly says, okay, it's my patient, I'll take the ball.
Yeah.
You definitely build the logic for that, because the more patient handoffs there are in the patient's care, the greater the likelihood of complication of balls and injuries.
Yeah.
And frustration.
Yeah.
The patient being frustrated.
You asked me that same question 12 times. Yeah. Yeah. And then, missing stuff and there being errors with the patient information and patient care. Yeah. Final thing is building fires, right? This is where there's going to be a good bit of change compared to maybe how we had done this historically, right? As we've moved from 7 to 5 to 3 EMS supervisors, and now we have 3 plus the the 3 EMS specialists, right? We're going to be moving away from that idea that the EMS supervisor is the command aide regularly on these incidents. We have a lot of command staff. So we're going to be more focused on patient care, right? Whether that patient care is somebody who was a citizen removed from the building that we need to take care of, whether that's one of our own people who becomes ill or injured, right? If none of that happens, whether that is managing rehab and making sure our people properly go through rehab and get their vitals taken and that they're within the proper rehab vital signs, which have changed. Heart rate now gets to be 120 instead of 100, so more people clear rehab, yes. But command aid is not up high on the list for any of us anymore, right? So that's something that's going to be, it's a change. It's something that's going to have to be socialized with our command staff so that they know what the expectations are and aren't expecting us to do something different than what we've been advised, but that's what's going to be changing as far as structure fires. Yes?
One of the things that the command aide used to take care of, and the supervisor used to take care of, is like a rehab, so if there is a patient or they're checking out things to be helpful towards the command staff. We're just trying to figure out what the Red Cross component may be, so how many people in the house, ages, genders, do they have accommodation, do you need to call Red Cross, because there's like a 1 hour turnaround time, so the sooner that the aides, or longer, so the sooner the aides can get that information processed, and sometimes, as opposed to having to assign someone to go do it, if you're walking up and you make contact with the folks, run down a Red Cross checklist, they can just give it to the aide and just streamline the process for command and the end user for Red Cross.
Yeah, and those are little things I picked up just like when I ran fires, like you said, but like when I think of patient care, and that's I'm glad you brought that up. If there's no immediate illness or injury, patient care could be the welfare of the occupants of that structure, right? Oh, there's nobody ill or injured. Okay, now the welfare is making sure that these people are out of the elements, that we are starting to organize where they're going to go once this disaster for them is over.
Some of the chiefs and command staff will assign that anyway as part of the welfare group, the official or unofficial. So if it's a garden department and you see a bunch of people standing outside and there's a storm either occurring or about to occur, you may want to figure out to go to the clubhouse because it's going to happen.
Yep.
I like the idea of continuing to do the specific questions related to Red Cross. Part of that is you actually get to lay eyes on the people that were the occupants of that dwelling. I wrote up yesterday, because this was my last tour, a person who removed their vehicle that was on fire from the garage fire to try to make sure that their house didn't burn to the ground. She repeatedly 3-4 times denied that she had any injuries, didn't want EMS, nothing. And then when finally the investigator walks up to her and goes, "Hey, how are you doing?" She goes, "My skin's just on fire. I'm just burned everywhere." And he's like, "Why didn't nobody do an assessment of this person?" So having the time to have that conversation, and especially if it's someone who is actively losing their home and isn't thinking about when you ask, "Are you okay?" Are they actually okay? It gives you a chance to allow them to process for a minute and you to actually assess, like, "Hey, I'm noticing that you actually have some singed hair all over your head. Are you sure you're good?"
Adrenaline is a hell of a drug.
Adrenaline, can hide a lot of pain for a little while.
I think it's very reasonable to look at that as one of the things that we do. I mean, obviously, if we've got an active CPR in the front yard, that may not be the first thing we do, but it's one of the things to make sure that we do actually capture all of our patients and then provide that information out.
Yep. With all this, you figure a lot of this out as you run calls, and you get better at it. You run different types in different situations where you arrive first, you arrive second, and you just build what works for you, right? So this is just something for you to start thinking about, so you can start processing, so that you can start to make the choices that work for you on your shift.
One thing that you hit on yesterday with regard to this would be both cyano kits and equipment in general. If an ambulance and not a medic unit is your first arriving transport unit.
Yeah, so we talked about this, like cyano kits, bringing those up to, especially if your buggy's parked far away, bringing those up to the first transport unit that would be transporting. ALS bag and, what do we say? Yeah, iPad, right? Because your iPad has your rehab app. One thing to think about that is your iPad, now that we've stopped using Survey 123 for medication checks, they're often not logged in, right, to Survey 123. So being aware that you might need to find one that's logged in. Winstead says in addition to his iPad or the iPad of the transport unit for rehab, he says he likes to, for the first truck company, take their Zoll monitor and their iPad and tell them so that there's a second set of iPads. Oh, yeah. But he said the reason is because when they come looking for their iPad, they got to come through rehab, right? It's like you trapped them. You're like, here, hey, come over here. You got to get your vitals checked, right? But that way there's more, another monitor and then another iPad to record rehab. But we got to get our people through rehab, right? Make sure that they're not injured, they're not ill. We know that cardiac events after these things are deadly, and we don't want our people to skate out on those. So tracking, like, hey, make sure you track, hey, when a unit comes to rehab, engine 444 is in rehab, okay? After everybody is past their rehab and they're back in staging, okay, check or cross them off, and somebody letting the command aide know that they are ready to be reassigned, but not letting them go until they have come through. It's a challenge sometimes. They can get squirrely.
So, kind of switching gears a little bit. With the pilot program, I distinctly remember, you guys can correct me if I'm 100% wrong, that there was information set out when the pilot program started. And one of the things that was in there was that the EMS specialists were encouraged to drop off of lower acuity calls in favor of responding to the higher acuity calls. Is that still going to be the expectation? Yeah.
So again, assuming that, how do I phrase this? If you are just another asset, like you're just going to that Charlie call because like you were like, I'm going to go to that Charlie call because I'm going to be helpful, or even if you probably were dispatched first, but you read it and it's like grandma twisted her ankle, she's sitting on the couch, right? And you have a pediatric cardiac arrest, drowning, CPR, come around, right? Communicate that to the other units. Hey, engine 423 from ALS, whatever, I'm going to drop off and go to this cardiac arrest. Absolutely. Use that discretion appropriately.
Bear in mind, it's already been turned on that you may be the second ALS provider for whatever other call we've done before. So the pilot program really heavily emphasized folks adding 2 incidents to figure out where is the biggest difference being made. And I'll be honest, our goal is to get away. I'm not dissuading at all adding 1 to incidents, but I want the system
to
if you're
dispatch.
saying, like, hey, I don't do these calls all the time and I make a huge difference, then we need to start figuring out, okay, why aren't you being dispatched? Let's figure out how to make that work. But make good decisions.
Work first so we can see what the data is.
Yeah. But make good decisions of if you're like, I'm clearly not needed on this, or there's someone on scene who can tell me whether I'm needed on this or not, you can call and say, hey, there is something going on right up the street. Are you good with me clearing? And they say, no, actually, this patient is sick as shit too. Yeah. So.
And I think the other part of this too, and part 2 is my question is like, the field personnel right now are very like, just kind of in the dark about how this is all going to work. And I know it's because it's still developing, but like right now trying to explain to people when they ask me, well, what's the difference between a specialist and a supervisor? Like, when do I request a supervisor over a specialist and vice versa? And I think sending out expectations of how we're going to do this, at least to start, and identifying those differences between the roles of who is capable of doing what and who's capable of not doing it. Because my throwdown answer was like, okay, you drop a patient, you have a cot drop, that's an EMS supervisor.
Yes, can I tell you, literally Rocco is over there on his computer, IB, those exact two columns. EMS specialist, EMS supervisor. Here's the things they do that are the same. Here's the things they do that are different.
That's been like the most questions I've gotten is like, who comes for what?
Yeah.
That's the best way I know how to.
The information, the IB is being, final touches are being put on right now.
Stuff that results in investigations and paperwork.
EMS supervisor. And the way that we're going to play that, and John, sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder, right, is we're going to tell people when stuff first happens, contact whoever is in your zone first, right? Like whether that's lieutenant or captain, right? And then you all will start just so they know who to contact. And then if it's one of those things that needs to be, you'll take the basic information and then you'll pass if it needs to be like a medication, missing medication or a cot drop or an EMS inquiry. After you take that basic information, you'll pass that up to the EMS captain to follow up with.
It's no different than when the page goes off overhead of, hey, I need a shift officer to answer the phone. Like, okay, that means an officer is going to answer the phone. And then when you realize, like, oh, this is definitely above my pay grade, I'm going to let somebody else know.
Yep.
And it's no different. Hey, somebody just calls the EMS or ALS phone and says, hey, I've got this situation. You go, okay, yeah, I can definitely handle this. Let me help you through this. My monitor is messed up. What do I do? Like, hey, try this, try. Okay, well, go ahead and meander over to the pharmacy, do the form that's appropriate, and start knocking that out. Versus, hey, we just dropped a patient. Like, okay, I'm going to make sure you're not neglecting the patient right now.
Yep.
I'm definitely calling a friend to tell them about what's going on.
Yeah, so it's like the first parts you're making sure, like if you drop the cot on the medic unit, right? Okay, we're making sure the patient's okay. We're telling the hospital what happened. We're documenting that in our EPCR. That basic stuff is done. Now I'm gonna make sure that the EMS captain is called so that they can finish the reporting and follow up.
And you can go to the scene, like if they drop them in Fair Oaks, the chase at 31 can go on and go over there.
Yeah, make sure all crews are okay, nobody's hurt, nobody's ego's bad, back's hurt, patient's okay. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Smith. They usually never drop people. This is only the third time this has happened this week. Yeah, good. And as far as like dispatch, the way that it's going to be run right now is if they say send me a EMS supervisor, right? It's just going to be EMS specialist or EMS supervisor, whoever is closest to that call from the outset.
We do have layer